Welcome into OutKick, the show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis, and I hope all of you are having a fabulous Thursday wherever you may be across the country. It's a sad week already. For those of us who grew up fans of Hulk Hogan, news broke in the last few hours. Hulk Hogan dies at the age of 71. I loved wrestling growing up. The WWF back in the day, I would go. One of the coolest things I got to do as a kid, my dad took me to some of those wrestling shows. For those of you that are from Nashville or the Nashville area, we didn't even have a real arena by and large. We had the Municipal Auditorium, and my dad would take us. Sometimes we would get to go when I was a kid. It was one of the coolest things that ever happened in Nashville. And sometimes people forget, cities change a lot. When I was a little kid, the biggest event in Nashville was probably Memorial Gymnasium for a big Vanderbilt basketball game. We didn't have the Titans. We didn't have the Predators. We didn't have all of this limelight that comes with the day-to-day existence of Nashville, Tennessee. All the time now, car races, NASCAR, F1, whatever the heck it is, there's always something going on. It was Nashville Sounds, AAA baseball. One year we also had a AA team, and we got to watch Michael Jordan play out at Greer Stadium. We had Municipal Auditorium, which was the downtown Nashville arena, still there, and you would get to watch occasionally the WWF. And it was one of the coolest things that I ever saw as a kid growing up. And Hulk Hogan was an icon. For kids of my age growing up, if you grew up in the 80s, if you grew up in the early 90s, you would watch the old school WrestleMania VHS tapes. We had them saved. You would scribble out the WrestleMania 4, tape 1, tape 2, whatever it was, if you had them on pay-per-view. Or at my daycare, I went to First Baptist Church Daycare in Goodlettsville, Tennessee, and we had one of our daycare instructors there, Miss Kim. She was a huge wrestling fan, and she would tape all the wrestling events, and we would come into daycare. This is when I'm in second, third, fourth grade, and we would watch all the wrestling matches that would take place. That's what we did at daycare. All of us were huge fans. Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, Miss Elizabeth, I believe they're all three gone now. Hulk Hogan was, when I was a kid growing up, about the biggest superstar that existed in America. He was an American original. He was an American icon. When I saw the news that he had died, I went and told my wife, and we were both just like, man, this sucks. I think Hulk Hogan came on before me several times on Fox News, and my wife just thought it was incredible that Hulk Hogan had any idea who I was. I posted a while back a picture with Sylvester Stallone. If you were a kid, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Hulk Hogan, Sylvester Stallone, they were the absolute heavyweight champions of pop culture. And last year, I got to see Hulk Hogan come out at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee and endorse President Trump. One of his last real front-facing roles was to become a supreme Trump supporter. He said he couldn't stay quiet any longer. He had known Trump for a long time, but after they tried to kill Trump on July 13th in Butler, Pennsylvania, he felt compelled to make a public endorsement. I do think it's significant, and I think it has had a major cultural impact because I think Hulk Hogan has such tremendous favorability still in this country. This is what that looked like almost exactly 1 year ago today.
What happened last week when they took a shot at my hero and they tried to kill the next president of the United States? Enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
Hulk Hogan responded, I believe, once to me on Twitter, on social media. My kids are monster wrestling fans. We have fortunately gotten to take them to several WrestleManias. We've gotten to take them to a lot of Raws, a lot of SmackDowns. And they aren't just fans growing up of current wrestling, which they like, but my wife is a monster wrestling fan. She was in Detroit for, I believe it was WrestleMania 4, when Hulk Hogan body slammed Andre the Giant. She was a little kid in the absolute, in the ceiling of the Detroit Silverdome where she grew up back in the day, and got to go to that WrestleMania. And my kids, my mom saved a lot of the toys that I played with as a kid, because one day she figured she would have grandkids. And so we still have a lot of my old Star Wars figures and a lot of my old G.I. Joes and also a lot of my old wrestling figures, including the ones that you could put on your finger. If you guys remember the thumb wrestlers back in the day, old school wrestlers. I played with those things all the time. You could theoretically wrestle against somebody else, put one on your thumb. My youngest son loved them, played with them all the time. And there's a video out there. I don't know if you guys can find it before we finish the show. It would be a great thing to play at some point. But he knew all the old wrestlers from the 80s. My youngest son, he was like 2 years old, and you would hold up the wrestler, and he knew them all because we still have all the old school WrestleManias on DVD. My boys have watched all the old school wrestlers back in the day. And one of them was Rowdy Roddy Piper, who also has passed. But my 2-year-old called him all the time Rowdy Roddy Diaper. And Hulk Hogan responded to that video that we posted and said, man, I wish I had thought of that, Rowdy Roddy Diaper, as an insult for Piper, who was a villain in the early days of the WWF. But he's an American original. The country is worse for him not being here. I know people are going to say, oh, well, what about the controversies? And there are certainly a lot of them. And like everybody, he was imperfect. But I think if you weigh the scales of good and bad that everybody's life entails, both good and bad, and I think one of the flaws of what I would call the woke era is it focuses on the bad of everything as opposed to good. If you weigh the scales of life, I think Hulk Hogan's good that he provided in America far outweighs the bad. And we overlapped a little bit almost in the one of the most significant, I would say, acts of Hulk Hogan's business life, which was suing Gawker. Some of you will remember I worked at Deadspin back in the day when Deadspin was not a crazy site before it went bankrupt. I was one of the associate editors there working underneath a guy named A.J. DeLorio. And A.J. DeLorio went on to publish on Gawker a sex tape of Hulk Hogan that had been stolen and shouldn't have been published. And the entire Gawker company was bankrupted in a Florida courtroom. It is a really fascinating story to read about, and how that all went down. But that was a significant media business story that was directly connected to Hulk Hogan. But I will miss him. I'm glad that he reconciled with the WWE, ended up being introduced and inducted into their Hall of Fame, had been appearing at some of their events, and he is one of the most iconic figures of the 1980s, of the 1990s, of my youth, and I will miss him as I miss many of those figures, the Macho Man Randy Savage, and others who have also passed. I will be, and I am very sad that Hulk Hogan is no longer with us. Rip to one of the greatest American cultural icons of all time, Hulk Hogan. And I think it actually ties in what Hulk Hogan did last year. When he spoke at the RNC, was he started to send the message, we're not going to apologize anymore. One of the cultural impacts of Trump 1.0 was a lot of people who voted for Trump 1.0 were ashamed to say it publicly. Tom Brady is a good example. He has a MAGA hat in his locker room. The sports media comes after him. He kind of shrinks, frankly, from the political realm. He doesn't want to be criticized. A lot of coaches and players did the same. I am here to tell you that Trump won athletes and coaches overwhelmingly compared to Kamala Harris for those that actually voted. I think in every league, maybe except the WNBA, maybe except for the NBA. I don't know. I'd be curious to see what the actual numbers. I know that he won the NFL coaches and players. I know that he won Major League Baseball coaches and players. I know that he won NHL coaches and players. I think Trump won the vast majority of athletes and players and coaches out there, both former and current. And that's reflected. I think we have a graphic. It's reflected also in larger society. Young men are over the BS. And I believe we have a graphic to show you that came out from Pew Research that illustrates young men, they're Trump supporters. And it's a massive amount that they are Trump supporters. We're talking about Gen Z. You see it right there. Now, young women are still supporting the Democrat Party, but young men are over the BS. And frankly, this is a large extent of what my book, Balls, that is going to be out in November, is all about. But you look at that graphic, and I don't think that athletes and coaches are following young men. I think that they are just a part of this young male voting base, white, black, Asian, Hispanic, that's over the BS. And I want to play John Harbaugh. I shared a photo sent to me from inside the White House of Jim Harbaugh and John Harbaugh, along with Jensen Huang, I believe is his name, the CEO of NVIDIA, all in the Oval Office with Trump posing for a photo. And it's NFL training camp season. Everybody is back. All the camps are back open now. And it's one of those times where every time, if you're a sports fan, you open social media app, you're just hoping that you're not going to see an injury notice about one of the best players on your team, because really there's not a lot of great news that comes out of training camp. You're just hoping your team makes it healthy enough to the start of the season and all your best players are still eligible. So John Harbaugh addressed the media. There are tons of stories he could be asked about. Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, the inability to get over the proverbial hump with Lamar Jackson and have the Ravens actually win a championship. They can't get past the Bills. They certainly can't get past Patrick Mahomes, who can. The AFC is stacked with good young quarterbacks. A lot of good questions out there. Instead, a left-wing sports media member wants to ask John Harbaugh about how in the world he could visit with Trump, given the fact that that Trump has said negative things about Baltimore. I just want to play this clip because I think John Harbaugh, this is a masterclass on how you handle left-wing sports media members who are actually just political activists asking questions not about sports at all, but that are designed to try to punish anyone who voted for Trump. And my goodness, Harbaugh knocked it out of the proverbial park. Watch.
Past Donald Trump has said, denigrating things about Baltimore, including no human being who want to live there. Yeah. As a prominent representative of Baltimore.
Boy, well, how you frame that question? I would frame the question like, you got a chance to go visit with the president, man. What was that experience like? It was amazing. It was awesome. And I promise you, I root for our president. I want our president to be successful, just like I want my quarterback to be successful, and I want my team to be successful. And it was an amazing experience. It's not often you get invited and you get a chance to do something like that as a family. We were there. My daughter was there. Jim's daughters were there. My mom and dad were there. My mom and President Trump. Just seeing how he treated her was really meaningful. And that's the fourth president. Now Jim met 7. Jim has met 7 presidents, so he's got the lead on me. I think he pointed it out. Did you guys notice that? Right, he's got 7. I got 4. So had a chance to meet President Obama twice. Incredible experience. Had a chance to meet President Biden when he was vice president in Iraq and spent a lot of time with him in Iraq, which was amazing. And then 24, 25 years old. Jim got invited also to the White House to meet President Reagan because he was a Heisman Trophy candidate. And we got to go as a family, so I met President Reagan, have a picture in my office of that. So those are moments that I definitely cherish, and it means a lot.
That's perfection. I would give John Harbaugh a standing ovation if I could. Everybody who works in PR marketing should clip that answer and just share it and say the days of running and hiding and being concerned about the power of sports media to in some way write negatively about you, they're over. Just own whatever you believe. Don't apologize for it. Actually put it in the context like Harbaugh did there of what a tremendous honor it is to visit the White House. I would go. I've said this before. Sometimes people get mad at me. I would go to meet Barack Obama, Joe Biden. I've met Trump multiple times in term one and in term two. I've now been to the Oval Office. I've been on Air Force One. I think if the president invites you to meet, you go. I don't care who the president is. I don't care if he's a Whig, a Tory, a Democrat, a Republican, if he's a Libertarian, if he's some political party that as of now we do not know. I would go. I thought that was a fabulous answer. I also think that's the way young men feel. I think that's the way most people inside of John Harbaugh's locker room would feel. And I think that Democrats' inability to connect with young men ultimately comes down to a lack of authenticity. And I wanted to play this because I thought it tied in well with this. Michigan is a battleground state. My wife is from the Detroit area. As I told you guys earlier, I spend a lot of time in Michigan. I just went up to northern Michigan. I think it's the most underrated part of the nation in the summer. It's beautiful up there. Well, Alyssa Slotkin narrowly won an election to represent the state of Michigan in the United States Senate. And she is trying to connect with those young sports ball fans out there. And I think we got to say, Slotkin, you don't know ball. Play it.
That it's all bad, but by charting a strategy from beginning to end on how we get through this moment. And we will. For God's sakes, people, the Detroit Lions are going to win the national championship and the Super Bowl, and they were in the toilet for years. So
the Detroit Lions are going to win the Super Bowl. They're going to win the national championship in college football. They're going to win the Stanley Cup. They're going to win the NBA championship. They are going to win the World Series and the College World Series and the NCAA basketball tournament, both men and women's. There is no stopping the Detroit Lions yet. Yay, sports ball. Again, clearly, anyone who has a basic scintilla of knowledge about sports knows that the national championship is won by a college football team. The Super Bowl is won by an NFL team. It's not only that Slotkin herself did not know it, it's that she doesn't have anybody on staff that would be able to correct her. And this is because young men are basically a foreign language that Democrats no longer speak. This is how you end up with Tim Walz as the VP candidate, and you think that men are going to respond to him. The Democrat Party is the party of middle-aged, menopausal women who are trying to pick men that they think will appeal to actual young men. And they can't because they don't speak the language well enough. I thought that was illustrative of the failure to just connect on a basically authentic level. It would be better to just not talk about sports at all than to talk about sports in such an inauthentic way that it leads people to trust you less going forward. Couple of other stories that are out there. Joe Biden got $10 million for his memoirs. Who's going to read this book? Who's going to write this book? This book is going to lose money hand over fist. I think it could go down as the woke Snow White of publishing. I just don't think there's anyone who wants to spend any time at all reminiscing about the worst presidency from a mentally and physically decrepit president. I just don't see it in any way as actually making sense. We got a couple of other things that are out there. I think this is important. and maybe I should do a deep dive on this, but there was a poll up about black-white relations, and I'm going to talk about this in long form, I think, tomorrow on Clay and Buck, unless there's some sort of massive news story. Sometimes there are, that happens. And you can see, if you look at this poll that was up on race relations and how black people and white people get along, you can watch it, and long about 2014, suddenly, if you look at this graphic that is up there right now, suddenly race relations collapse. Everybody was pretty happy, by and large, from the start of the 21st century, both black and white, race relations were pretty good, and then they collapse about 2014, if you look at that graphic. Now, some people are saying, hey, that's Barack Obama. I don't buy that, because I think if Barack Obama had been the cause of it, you would see race relations start to collapse around 2008 or 2009. You don't see it. Even 2012, the presidential election, race relations didn't collapse. What happened? I think that social media about 2014 took over, and I think what you see is it made everybody less happy, and it made everybody angrier. BLM rises, and around 2014, a lot of people started to believe that social media was the real world. I never did. I always thought it was a carnival funhouse mirror. That is, you ever go to those old school carnival funhouse mirrors? I've written this in my book. I think it's the perfect analogy. If you stand in front of them, they can make you look fatter, taller, skinnier than you actually are. That's why it's a carnival funhouse mirror, because you do not get an accurate reflection of what you actually look like. Social media was a distorted carnival funhouse mirror effect. And what ended up happening was people treated it as if the mirror were real. Imagine if you made eating decisions based on what you saw in front of a carnival funhouse mirror. You, if you're super fat, might think, hey, I'm actually super skinny. And if you're super skinny, you might actually think I'm super fat. You would be worse off trying to make yourself look better in that mirror than if you never looked in the mirror at all. And I think that's what happened to society. And right now what we're seeing is everybody trying to fix the distorted version of reality, the carnival funhouse mirror effect that social media began to show us. And I think it worked for everybody in a negative way. Black people, white people, Asian people, Hispanic people, gay people, straight people, trans people, kids. I mean, the data is awful on young girls. If you are a teenage girl and you're on Instagram, 30% of teenage girls have thought about killing themselves. This is why one reason as a parent, I'm thankful we didn't give our kids phones until they're 14. I think everybody's going to look back on the social media era and the degree to which people had phones in their pocket, and they're going to say this was as toxic to human health in many ways as smoking, cigarettes. And I think you're starting to see it, right? The Anxious Generation, the book comes out, great book. Now they're saying, hey, we shouldn't have phones in schools. We're going to lock them up. We're not going to allow kids to have access to them. That's happening at all my kids' schools. I think it's going to come out that we shouldn't really allow kids to have access to phones until they're like 18 years old. And they've actually gone through some measure of puberty. Imagine you're a 14-year-old girl and you are getting on social media and your body, or a boy, but certainly for girls, and your body feels awkward and you're unhappy and you're pimply and you got braces and you're looking around at all these other people and you're just going to feel awful about yourself. And what I tell my boys all the time, and I think this is good life advice for everybody else, nobody puts awful photos of themselves up on social media. By and large, nobody's like, hey, this is how awful my day was. This is how fat I am. This is how ugly I am. This is how poor I am. This is how crappy my vacation actually is. This is how what I usually wear, not my best dress or my best shirt or my best shoes. Nobody does it. Everybody puts the airbrushed best version of themselves up on Instagram, up on social media. And if you're comparing it with your life, then I think a lot of people get unhappy. And I don't think it's because of celebrities, because we've always had celebrities. Celebrities are always better looking than us. Right? Go to a movie. They don't put a lot of ugly people on the big screen. People want to look, by and large, at people who are better looking than them in movies. A romantic comedy with two super ugly people, nobody goes to watch. Most of media is aspirational. And I think what happened with social media is the Carnival Funhouse Mirror exaggerated how much they tried to tell us we don't have in common, how awful and racist America is, and it was anecdotal and not representative of what most people experienced, and it made everybody hate each other more. And I think that's the lesson that we are slowly learning about the impact of social media. And so I think that is emblematic of this. By the way, good job by the team. They tracked down the video. I'm actually excited to watch this. They tracked down the video that we posted from April 14th of 2017. Oh, man. I know I'm getting old because I look at these videos, and this is my youngest son, who was at this time, let's see, he was not yet 3. So he's about 2.5 here. And my wife's probably going to get mad at me because I may have screwed up his age, but I believe he's about 2.5 here. Here he is with my other sons going through his wrestlers that were my toys when I was a kid, knowing everybody's names. Again, this is how much my kids loved wrestling, how much we watched it. Let me play that video.
Okay, a couple of wrestling fans here. All right, Nash knows everybody. Here we go. Who's that, Nash? Okay.
Hulk Hogan.
Good.
Lucky the second Steamboat.
Okay, next.
Such a dog. Hey, look at one phone.
Good. Next.
Operation.
Good. Next.
Big gunshot.
Good.
Big gunshot then.
Again. Is that all of them?
No.
Oh,
Mr. Waffle.
yeah. Do you know him? Good.
Ready, diaper.
Rowdy diaper. Okay, one more.
Junkyard dog.
Junkyard dog. JYD.
Ready, diaper.
Who's your favorite wrestler, Nash?
Junkyard dog.
Junkyard dog.
Mine too.
Oh, man. I would love to have him back at that age for just a day. What is that, 8 years ago now, basically? Kids are getting old. I got a 17-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 10-year-old now, but they're 2-year-old and I guess he would have been, 6? But that's the video that I was talking about earlier that Hulk Hogan responded to. All right, so April 14th, 2017. Couple of other different things that are out there. Roll over in and out. I think we can talk about that. I will say that this is fun. The Pope was given in the Vatican City a shirt that says "Da Pope," obviously in honor of Da Bears, as I still can't believe this year, among many other crazy twists and turns, we now have an American Pope. Here is Pope Leo, right? Here is Pope Leo as he is handed a Da Pope shirt from presumably Chicago area sports fans. Let's play this. Good stuff. Let's roll over in and out. Also, this is going to be a fun task for somebody. Get me some of those hot photos of Sydney Sweeney from her new American Eagle retail deal that has gone mega viral. And we're going to have some fun with that next week. American Eagle, I used to work there back in the day. I'll tell some fun American Eagle stories, but I do think it's also representative of a major cultural shift. I want you guys to be subscribing. Click like and subscribe on the YouTube channel, and go put questions in there. And I will respond to your questions on here. I saw like one of the responses about Jesse from Saved by the Bell on Instagram alone has 100,000 views. So obviously you can find these videos everywhere. We love you at Instagram. You can find me at Clay Travis everywhere, TikTok, YouTube, but this is YouTube in particular. Question for the YouTubers out there, commenters. In the comments, share the first bit of content that you ever saw or heard that I did. I'm just kind of curious to see those, and we'll react to some of those. I'm curious how long some of you have been watching or listening to the shows, and curious to see what you say in the comments. So go in there. Okay. We talked yesterday about the Tulsi Gabbard revelations and what I thought would happen. And here we have, let me know if anything ever happens to Obama. I won't be holding my breath. Look, I said this yesterday, and I don't know how long it's going to take it to work through the media ecosystem. Obama is protected by the same Supreme Court ruling that said Trump is protected. Based on Trump's actions as president in 2020, he could not be charged, by and large, with most of the federal offenses. The Supreme Court said what he was accused of was within the province of overall presidential prerogative. In other words, the president gets space to be president. That was relating to 2020. What Obama is under fire for now is relating to 2016. There are people out there that will get you fired up and tell you Obama's going to be put in handcuffs. I'm here to tell you he's not. The precedent that protected Trump 2020 is also going to protect Obama 2016 and every other president into the future, and Bill Clinton and George W. Bush and anybody else out there who was president of the United States and is being accused of committing crimes based on being president of the United States. Seinfeld killed the family shows by glamorizing the single man, and Friends did it to the single women and men. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. I am not an expert in the history of sitcoms, but there were lots of sitcoms that did not focus on the family that were very popular. Golden Girls, Cheers. Some of you guys can hop in the mentions and give me some of the others. There were lots of sitcoms that Bosom Buddies, Perfect Strangers, there were all Martin. There were always a lot of sitcoms back in the day that covered a variety of perspectives, different strokes, different strokes, a little bit different world, that didn't just focus on mom, dad, and raising families. So I don't buy that Seinfeld or Friends changed the cultural dynamic in that way. They were speaking to different audiences. That's true. I think what's changed is, again, the dad character has been devalued. I'm talking about family sitcoms. Modern Family was a supremely successful show. There were 4 good dads in Modern Family. The Jay Pritchett older dad with a younger family and the hot wife. The dad who was married to the girl from Happy Gilmore, if I'm remembering correctly, Julie Bowen's husband, whatever, Phil Dunphy. And then you had the 2 gay dads. All of them were good dads and were focused on trying to be good fathers for their kids. So I don't think that argument is correct. I appreciate the comment. I just happen to think you're wrong. Okay, I'm trying to find these again on my phone. Question 3. I look forward to your show every day. I just noted one thing. Whenever you have Adam pull something up, you never say please. Maybe it's a time constraint. You'll be talking along. You'll say, pull this up. It's cringeworthy. It's a small thing, but perhaps be more mindful of it. Keep up the great work. That has to be a woman. That has to be somebody's mom out there, maybe Adam's mom, that is upset. I don't think I should have to say please. The job is to pull up the info. Why do I have to ask someone please to do what their job is? I don't say, I'm not even, I guarantee you this is someone's mom. I love that you like the show. I think I have impeccable manners, maybe even phenomenal manners. I don't think anybody else is noticing this except moms. Last question. Can Clay own more than 5 T-shirts that the neck collar isn't all stretched out? Maybe his wife needs to dress him. Well, certainly it would not be a bad move necessarily if my wife dressed me. But I think this is a balancing act, okay? Older the T-shirt is, more comfortable it is to wear, worse the collar is. So if I have to rank on the flow chart of my most important attributes to T-shirt, comfort, mini washes, old school, the way it feels on most of the body is more important than what the neck looks like. Now, it is true that my wife is angry all the time. I don't want to throw away any T-shirts. And I regularly wear T-shirts that are a decade or more older. I have T-shirts in my drawers downstairs that are 20 years or older, way older than all my kids. It is a constant bit of battle. And sometimes my wife even tries to throw away those T-shirts without my knowing. So I'm sorry if you don't like the collars on my T-shirts, but I'm rocking the comfortable T-shirt from most of the body fit as opposed to worry about what the collar might look like. Have fabulous weekends. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. Rest in peace, Hulk Hogan. I will see all of you Monday on the OutKick Show.